And of course, you will find this same sex magic in the state of Israel. The Rothschilds, or the Red Childs of Sacrifice, donated and designed the Israel Supreme Court building, which is hidden and embedded with ritualistic sex magic symbolism. And the emerald green of the land of Oz, which represents the sun in springtime, the house of Aries, the ram, or the lamb, or the rabbit. Thus, Mary, or March, the house of Aries, had a little lamb. And of course, that's why Mouton Rothschild's logo is the lamb, or the ram. And of course, that's why the Matrix shows you the colors of the Emerald City of green, because it represents the fertility time of springtime. So like I said, that's why the rabbit of Playboy represents the horny fertility of the sexy goddess. So it's all about following the white bunny to the sacred rabbit hole. And that's why the Playboy bunny's ears are sticking straight up, because they're showing you the symbol of the horns, because she is horny. And if you watched Dark Waters, then you would know that the little girl with the bunny rabbit little backpack that fell into the cistern drew a picture of a little girl with horns. So the rabbit going in and out of the rabbit hole is an ancient symbol of sex, which represents the fertility of earth and nature during springtime when it is reborn from death. Thus, springtime, or Easter, is the time of fertility. It is the gateway, or the portal, between the twin pillars, thus the 101, which is the trinity of the sex magic of life. And now you might understand why a magician always has sexy little helpers. And of course, his magic comes from the sacred hole of the hat, which is why he pulls the bunny from the rabbit hole. And we find the ritualistic sex magic of the 101 with King Solomon and his twin pillars, the Temple of Solomon, which is a symbol of sex magic. And like I said earlier, you'll find the same sex magic in Washington, D.C. And of course, we can't talk about the Illuminati sex magic ritual symbolism without bringing up September 11th, the World Trade Center, the 101, and the 0, ground zero, which is exactly why they tell us about the whole of the World Trade Center. And like I said before, the Illuminati is obsessed with their sacred hole, or their devil's hole, which is why when the World Trade Center was taken down and rebuilt again, they made sure to put in a devil's hole. So perhaps now you'll understand why September 11th was all about the holes. Thus, the sex magic ritual, which is why they used the phallic planes, or the jets, to crash into and poke the holes. And of course, the World Trade Center had the elevators.
As it turned out, we had no usable elevators.
With the elevators out, there was only one way to get up there. Walk.
case now, but I do know that one of the towers had a major elevator that went all the way to the top that was malfunctioning and has been malfunctioning for at least a month. They've been having a lot of trouble with that.
Tommy, have you made it back down to the lobby yet? The elevator's screwed up. You can't move it?
And if you've seen Arthur and the Invisibles, then you will have seen the same exact stories I've been telling you about, which is going down the rabbit hole.
Close again for 1,000 days.
36 hours! I'll do my best!
Good luck, Arthur.
The numbers 1,000 and 36 represent the eternal life that is given from the houses of the zodiac. And just in case you didn't get it, they even show you the directions of the zodiac. So we obviously have seen the scene from Dark Waters of the little girl who falls into the water tank or the water cistern, exactly like Elisa Lam. So the entire reason that I included the clips of Arthur and the Invisibles is because of this next scene. Once again, we see the same scenario with the young child who crawls up to the water tower or the cistern to go after something that has fallen inside, and the child falls in as well, just like Elisa Lam. Arthur is an orphan as well, exactly like the historical story of King Arthur and the sword in the stone, because Wart, or Arthur, was an orphan. And for those of you who have watched my movies in the past, you'll know that I've shown you several times about the obsession the Illuminati has with the orphan. In fact, the vast majority of Hollywood films, you'll find that the main character or a related co-character will almost always be the character of the orphan. I'll be watching movies with my family, and time again, I'll point out the fact to them that the story, once again, is about the Illuminati, one that is orphaned. So I could obviously go on for days showing you examples of the Illuminati orphans that surround our everyday lives, including the Matrix and Star Wars. And of course, the biblical characters that were orphans, that included Moses and Jesus, including the Islamic Muhammad. And I don't even have time to go into the fact of the numerical 711 and 911 numerology. But here is just a couple of examples. The upcoming film Dawn of the Planet of the Apes will be released on 7/11. And of course, Caesar is an orphan. And the movie The Hole, which is about two orphans, was released on September 11th. And of course, they go down the rabbit hole. In fact, this past weekend, I even watched a couple of movies with my son, and guess what? They were both about orphans. In fact, we went to the movies and watched Earth to Echo, which is a story about a little orphaned alien. And by the way, in Silence of the Lambs, the whole story is based around Jodie Foster, who plays the foster child, or the orphan. Which brings me back to the Elisa Lam case, where I find it extremely strange that the last person to see her alive was named Katie Orphan, the last bookstore. And of course, the little girl that plays the character in dark water is also an orphaned little girl. And remember that an orphan is defined as anyone who loses either one or both of their parents. Now, as far as we're aware, Elisa Lam is not an orphan, but we do have the connection with Katie Orphan. So Elisa Lam was found in the water tank, or the cistern, and this is the actual one that they cut her out of. A cistern goes back to ancient times. It is a water capture device, or a water holding device. The etymology of cistern is the cista, which is the box or the basket, and the urn, which we all know is a death vessel or a tomb. After Elisa's death, mourners left this memorial for her. Notice the bunny and notice the butterfly. And speaking of death, the number 13 surrounds Elisa Lam's death, the Illuminati number of 13. The elevator scene in which we see Elisa Lam is on the 14th floor, but the 14th floor is actually the 13th floor. And we all know how the Illuminati loves to use their bipolar or reverse symbolism, which is why on 13113 the elevator video was filmed, and the police released the video on 2/13/2013. Earlier I told you about Richard Ramirez, who stayed on the 14th floor, but it was actually the 13th floor, and we all know that he was a Satanist. And the Satanist connection continues with Aleister Crowley and the entity that he conjured called Lamb. And Aleister Crowley actually stayed at the Cecil Hotel in London. And while he was there, he wrote a poem about a lonely tower and demons and even water, called Jephthah. The biblical Jephthah sacrificed his daughter as a burnt offering. But the interesting connection here is that the daughter's name was Sheila, Selah. It's an anagram for Elisa. But the interesting thing is that the etymology of the word means blind, which is the exact same meaning as Cecil, which I explained to you earlier in the video. Now I want you to pay close attention to this version of Dark Water from 1994. It's a satanic film about the dark waters. But what's really interesting is the aspect of being blind.
For those who are blind shall see the true face of the beast and forever suffer it in their soul. For those who are blind shall see the true face of the beast and forever suffer it in their soul.
Slit Wrist is a death metal band. Notice the Glasgow smile, and of course the eyes that are blind. One of the leaders of the group is called Morbid 13. It seems as though that he has claimed that he is the killer of Elisa Lam. Whether it's true or not is not known, but one thing is for sure, it's very unsettling and disgusting for someone to even claim such a thing. He seems to be obsessed with the Cecil Hotel and Dahlia, as you can see her in the background picture. And there are some reports out there saying that Elisa Lam has a dark side that we don't know about. But I found it strange that she took this picture with the hood. So, not sure what's going on at the Cecil Hotel, but I find it strange that, of course there's a lot of satanic influence that is attributed to the Cecil Hotel.